What would you describe where we're at? People are asking the question, is it civil war? Will there be a civil war? Right now, it appears that we have state-sponsored paramilitaries operating in Minnesota. We can try and be as reserved as possible and say, no, we don't want to say anything extreme. We're in a period where state-sponsored insurgent paramilitaries are attacking law enforcement, and that's it. But how do you guys feel about what's going on? How would you describe it?
It's an insurrection for sure, and people are really antsy about me using that term. They say it's not an insurrection, and I say just ask the people on the ground themselves, the actual insurrectionists. They literally fly the rebel flag from Star Wars. They call themselves the Resistance. Spoiler alert, rebellion, resistance, insurrection, they're all synonyms. They mean the same thing. They openly call themselves an insurrection. It's exactly what they are. They're resisting the government, the federal government, and there is a systematic coordination to impede federal law enforcement actions and operations. And they're doing it every day. It's how Renee Good got killed. It's how Alex Preddy got killed. They were all there in coordination with other people who are actively carrying out an insurrection.
From just my perspective, from being in Minneapolis and covering the Black Lives Matter riots back in 2020, I feel like we're seeing once again it's just like that real life where Americans are getting psyoped in real time. Through mainstream media, the language is a huge factor in this, labeling ICE as Gestapo, as Nazi, and me being on the ground and being Latino, I'm able to kind of have these conversations and kind of blend in a little bit easier. So just speaking to the locals on the ground, and this is just the reality of it is 90% of white liberals, they feel like this is their white savior moment. And they feel like when I'm conversating with them, they feel like they're standing up for their Somali brother and sister, and they have the privilege because they're white. And it's just like an interesting dynamic what's going on, because when you interview Somalian immigrants, they just have no connection with that fight, the way that white liberals, for some reason, are being psyoped into feeling like they have to rise up to this moment. And for them, they do feel like it's a civil war, and this is that moment. And actually, with Bovino, I mean, I don't know what you got, Cam, as your feedback on the ground, but I feel like when Bovino got let go, and they moved into Holman, the protesters there, the agitators, they feel like that was a win for them. And I feel like right now their morale got lifted.
Well, what do you think? Where are we at?
100%. I mean, these
Civil
are
war?
a regular paramilitary, insurgency, I would say. Right now, only one side's really fighting. It's their side is the only one fighting. It's not quite a hot insurgency. They're engaged in stochastic terrorism, so they put violent language out into their brainwashed, I think often mentally ill community. And of course, it's stochastic because you don't know exactly who's going to do what in terms of violence, but you know the violence is going to happen. It's just a randomized flow with a known endpoint. It's like if you throw a rock off a building. You don't know exactly the spot on the ground it's going to hit, but you know it's going to hit the ground.
I think it's, in active insurgency, we have a single state in rebellion, I would argue. You've got members of the state government who are providing access to resources and helping coordinate the activity. So it's not just a rebel group, or I don't even know how you describe it. It's active insurgency, and it's state-sponsored.
More than one state, too.
What other states do we know of that are actively involved?
Well, we have the same kind of stuff happening up in Portland, Seattle, right. California. It's just not as hot as Minnesota right now.
So I would say Minneapolis is at a whole nother level with the organization. I mean, I know Cam also has a lot of experience in all these cities. I thought Portland was like the worst of the worst, and I feel like Minneapolis is at a whole nother level because their locals, just everyday people, are in the fight, where in Portland it's more just the far left and the fringes, where here in Portland it's like the general. I mean, literally as we're speaking right now, there's going to be tens of thousands doing a general strike.
Yeah, but I agree. I agree with that, but I think the reason why we're seeing it in Minnesota this way is because Trump fought in Minnesota, because he sent 3,000 feds in and they started doing these operations. I'd argue that the left is probably as organized, maybe slightly more, maybe slightly less in other states. We just don't see it, because Trump isn't deploying thousands of troops, thousands of feds to go and engage in these actions. So because of that enforcement action by Trump and largely Bovino, it forced the insurgency to become active, and it forced them to become very visible to everybody else. Whereas with Portland, it's contained largely because the feds aren't doing anything. And the same thing for Washington and California. I'd be willing to bet these same networks have been operating throughout dozens of states already. Even red states.
I think they all have the same training, the same tools, the same resources. It's just a matter of whether they've hit the switch to take it to that other level.
That's right.
I agree. Minneapolis is at another level, but I think they can do that in any of these cities if they wanted to.
Right.
They're just focusing their efforts.
I would argue that you said it wasn't hot. The issue is the level of warfare that we're experiencing in the modern age, right? This is a really good example, right? This vest. Peaceful observer, don't shoot. They'll put this on, punch a cop in the face, then put their hands up. Their filmers will turn the camera on only after they punch the cop in the face. Then when the cop throws the peaceful observer to the ground, they'll say, look, he's wearing a shirt that says peaceful observer. Why was he attacked?
That's what they call themselves. So in the signal chats, what they call themselves, like the people who do the patrols, the foot patrols, stationary patrols, the dispatchers, they're called observers. They call themselves observers, but they're
Legal observers.
Yeah,
That's a
exactly.
fake thing. It's not a real thing.
But their intent and express purpose is going and just getting in the way of agents, whether
Yep.
it's blocking them with their cars like Renee Good, or standing in front of their vehicles with their bodies, or whatever it might be. Like their stated purpose is to go and impede and stop them.
Right. And every act like that is a federal crime. That's a Class A misdemeanor. That's good for a year in a federal penitentiary.
I do want to add, I was at the last Bovino press conference, and even in that presser, Bovino, there's that moment of truth where he goes, we haven't faced this level of organization from activists in any other city but Minneapolis. I mean, they just, and going into Minneapolis, they just kind of finished that operation in New Orleans where, I mean, it almost feels like they didn't face any type of uprising there. But even Bovino said that Minneapolis was a new challenge for federal agents and Border Patrol.
And he called them activists?
He calls them activists, agitators, also, especially because like the police chief in Minneapolis, several, I mean, they're all standing down. So one thing Bovino even added in his last press conference, he says, hey, our agents, we're conducting these operations, and then when these agitators do impede the operations, we do call 911, and we're getting like no response from local law enforcement.
We learned from the signal chats that you released that there's law enforcement in these groups. How are they getting access to license plate databases?
Right.
I think that's an interesting one because I think that a lot of their license plate data is based on observation from them. So they create the database on Airtable.
Let me pause real quick. How do they know what car the people are renting? They've got access to this.
Yeah, no, I'm not contesting that. I definitely think that it's possible that they have access to this, but I know that a lot of their database data is based on, like, I saw an agent in the front seat of this car with this license plate, et cetera. But it is extremely coordinated, and you're right, they do have the same network in other states. Like, I know there's a signal network in Seattle. Even in Texas, there's signal networks. They're all over the place, and they're coordinating.
I guess the question is, does Trump have the chutzpah to actually stop these groups? Does Kash Patel? I'm going to go ahead and posit the answer is no, because these things have been operating for years, and we've not seen any real action. Hey, congratulations, Don Lemon got arrested for a misdemeanor charge for, going into a church in violation of the FACE Act. And it's great that they finally got him. He got indicted by a grand jury, but what are we going to do about the fact that there is an active insurgency? I mean, this is sedition. It's seditious conspiracy. It was a couple of months after Biden got elected. The Capitol Police rampaged through the country, locking up J6ers, many of them getting solitary confinement for years. And we've got these known networks. They've been operating for years and nothing.
Yep. We have actual like evidence of real coordination going on here. I mean, I could literally join a dispatch call right now, and they're hunting ICE agents in Minnesota.
Wait, pull it up.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, put it on the. Let's listen to them.
Yeah, let's do it.
By the way, I think
Live,
Don Lemon
listening to these people. Do you think they'll shut it down once they realize they're live streaming? We're live streaming what they're saying.
Probably.
Let's go.
We could actually join if you really want to get frisky with it. We could be like, "Hey, welcome to the Tim Pool podcast." I just got to pull it up.
Well,
real
let's
quick.
just listen.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
Let's listen to what they're saying. Let's not say anything.
They delete them every day, so I got to rejoin.
Yup. Yeah, it's
new
very
chat,
disruptive that this stuff's getting published too, because it compromises their networks.
All right, call should be active. Oh, well, wait, hold up. Just give me a second. Come back to me.
So did Don Lemon get charged under the KKK Act?
No,
too?
no, just FACE Act.
Just FACE. Okay.
Which, of course, as everybody knows, only included religious facilities as I'm going to avoid swearing, as an FU to conservatives.
Right.
Basically saying this law is specifically to protect abortion clinics. Nobody was bombing churches or blocking churches, and they put it in there as this will shut you up.
Right.
Now it's bipartisan. Well, the funny thing is it's blowing back in their faces, I guess. So while he's pulling that up, let's get into the nitty gritty. Obviously, it doesn't really matter. To be honest, and I hate to say this to you because your expertise is literally on self-defense and justification of use of force and all that stuff. But we're well past that. We're well past that. An ICE agent could be standing in the middle of the street, and he could shoot a leftist straight in the chest. And there will be people on the right. Not everybody. The right's a bit more rational, but they're going to be like, well, you know, he had to have had a reason. But a better example, I suppose, would be the left's violence. A leftist could literally draw a gun and open fire on ICE. And when they shoot back, the left will argue that the guy was acting in self-defense first. They'll make up a reason.
Sure, of course. It's almost, you know, it's like arguing with a woman. They always have a rationale for whatever it is they want to do.
Well, it's largely a female-driven political movement.
It is a matriarchal organization fundamentally. The entire left is.
But it's zealotry. They don't need a reason. They need a justification for recruitment. And so they will lie about everything. So what do we know about Preddy?
But now they have their justification because now Alex is their martyr. You know, like
Yeah,
I was
but-
just at the vigil, and the energy there is like he is our hero, and because of him, we're gonna do like whatever it takes, keep impeding operations. Even like yesterday, today, I'm still getting reports of folks are still impeding operations. You know, Trump's gonna have to send in like some type
felony.
of security team, but they now have their martyr, and I just think they're gonna double down. And once again, morale has been lifted in Minneapolis.
Did you get it?
I'm working on it.
All right. Libertarians, hear me. The libertarians are really showing their true colors, yellow, because you guys set yourself up for that one. Because there's no exercise of authority that they allow ever. So let's break this down. A guy coordinates illegally to commit felony obstruction. So we have two crimes already on Preddy's plate: conspiracy against federal law enforcement, which is a felony. And obstruction of federal law enforcement, which is a felony, of which he committed these previously. Then you have criminal damage to federal property when he attacked the vehicle. You have felony assault on an officer when he spit, and I tracked it. You can see the spit go into the car. Don't know, it probably got on the door. I don't know if it got on the actual ICE or CBP guy. So you've got felony assault on an officer, criminal damage to federal property, felony obstruction, and conspiracy to obstruct. Those are all crimes, 4 felonies. You do not have... No. I'm going to ask you, do you have a legal right to bring a firearm with you for a crime you have conspired to commit?
Well, you can't carry a gun for unlawful purposes. That's not what the Second Amendment is for, right? I mean, I carry a gun every day. If you see me at a protest, I'm probably carrying a gun. But what I'm not doing is fighting police while I'm carrying a gun. No one was bothering Alex Preddy when he was carrying his gun, when he had a spare mag. No one cared until he was fighting police. And that's when it becomes a problem.
So these libertarians are lying, arguing he was peacefully protesting. I don't know if this is also within your area of expertise, but I think it's common sense. If you conspire to commit a felony, you are not protesting under the First Amendment.
Well, conspiracy is kind of weird because it's always conspiracy to commit some other crime, right? So,
Right.
So that is in and of itself an independent. But the conspiracy is, I guess I don't understand the overlap with First Amendment. So the First Amendment, you're at some place, right? You're holding a sign, you're shouting, that would be legitimate. Or you're obstructing, you're impeding, you're interfering. Now you're committing felony crimes. Those are different things.
Right.
The left likes to conflate all this stuff, right?
Right, but the libertarians are doing it too.
Yeah.
They're arguing Preddy was just protesting, and he's protected, and therefore the federal government murdered an innocent guy. This is the thing about libertarians. I'm gonna give a shout out to libertarians. I have no problem criticizing you, but what I love about them is they fold like cheap suits the moment any real conflict arises. So that makes it easy. You have quite literally a circumstance where murderers, rapists, and criminals have been let into our country, and Trump wants to get rid of them. Illegal immigrants are here criminally and also need to be deported. So this operation is under codified law, longstanding, 50 plus years or longer. The INA going back 100 years. So these are lawful operations from law enforcement that were appointed by a duly elected government. Nothing about it is fascistic. Everybody had a chance to have their voice heard, and the people of this community said, hey guys, we want to enforce the law this way. And then you have insurgent leftists who have expressed desire to murder, who have beaten people, who have attacked people, coordinating for in an effort to obstruct federal law enforcement, which is a felony. Mm-hmm. In some circumstances, like Preddy, to assault officers, which is a felony. In what reality are libertarians like, no, you are not allowed to enforce the law against someone conspiring to commit felonies and assault officers? It's psychotic.
Well, we have to understand libertarianism is kind of it's a luxury belief.
Yeah.
Right? That can only exist in a well-ordered, well-structured first world society. It's like you can only have a nice car if you live in a nice neighborhood, right? But if you move to a bad neighborhood, you have that nice car, you know what's going to happen to it.
It'll be on
Same with
blocks in 2 minutes.
libertarianism. It doesn't function in the real world. It doesn't function in a world where there's conflict and violence and threats, where you need order to be asserted, because libertarians are essentially against the assertion of order.
I have this bit that I want to film with the boys. We're talking about. It's a small community. A bunch of houses get broken into, and then this libertarian guy defends himself in his home, but the burglar gets away. So the community comes together and says, well, maybe we need to appoint someone from our community to actually go around and just patrol the neighborhood to make sure these burglars don't come back. And, you know, you might need a gun because these guys are violent. And the libertarians like, yeah, I'll do it. And then they're like, all right. And they'll say, okay, it's going to be you. You patrol every night to make sure the burglar doesn't come back. And then as soon as he does, they're all screaming fascist, murderer, you're evil. They're throwing eggs at him. And it's like, the libertarians are super angry because I said, I am the boot. They got mad, and they're doing something that's retarded, okay? They're making these flags where it shows a snake with a MAGA hat on and a ball gag saying, tread on me, daddy. But that doesn't quite make sense because MAGA isn't out on the street getting attacked by ICE. So MAGA's, at bare minimum, if you want to make the flag a guy sitting on his couch watching football while ICE goes out and stomps on other people, you could do that, but MAGA's not being tread upon. So they have this nonsensical argument. So my point is, I voted for ICE and CBP to go and do exactly what it is they're doing. A bit of it's heavy-handed. I can be critical of that. That's fine. But these people are working at my behest. I'm not being trampled on. No ICE agent has come to me and taken my guns from me or kicked my door in. I am not being infringed in any way. In fact, the only people who seem to have a problem right now are leftist extremists who lost an election and criminal illegal aliens. Those are the people being tread on. So how about this, libertarians? You make a flag where it's a bunch of fat MAGA dudes sitting there with their bellies hanging out, yelling, keep treading, and it's ICE stomping on leftists' Antifa. That's the flag you should make, and then you can question whether or not which side you're on or whatever. Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.